All right, welcome to the Miami Heat 5 on the 4 post-game show. We just got a win against the Houston Rockets. They couldn't hit a shot. We hit enough shots. Shout out to Max Struess. I'm here joined by Ariel up on my top. Here's Simba Sports, a.k.a. Matthew. Here at Gad, who was Struess earlier, but I guess he's just Gad now.
Yeah, I'm a Struess
fan.
fan.
I'm your host, Marco, who is currently exiled from Twitter. Free me, free Chef Chili, free Wheezy. I don't know. Anyway, we're gonna get right into the game. Let's get to the positives first. I want to bring this up a little bit. I want to know what are the biggest positives from each of you guys. I'm gonna start with you, Ariel. Since we want to keep it positive first. We'll get to the bad stuff. There's plenty of that too. But first, let's get to the positive. What's your biggest takeaway, Ariel?
My biggest positive takeaway is how well they rebounded from.
You muted.
I'm muted. Am I good now? You guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
I can hear you.
My biggest positive takeaway was how they rebounded from that slow start, right? Like Duncan came out firing, picked up 2 early fouls. The offense kind of bogged down. They couldn't make a shot. They started, I think they were 9 of 30 from the field. And then Jimmy just kind of started putting his head down, getting to the rim and drawing fouls, getting to the free throw line, kind of got him going. Then they ratcheted up their defensive intensity in the second half, started, kind of doubling John Wall a little bit near the baseline above the key and above the 3-point line, which forced the Rockets into some early some turnovers that mucked up their offense. And then the Heat shooters just had it going and more or less took it home from there.
Did Marco disappear?
Yeah, Marco disappeared.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
No, I'm Marco.
You want to go ahead with your positives, Gab?
I mean, they won 4 in a row. Like it's been a long time since we've been able to say that. So I'm just happy they won. Like, listen, Bam played like Draymond Green with some turnovers, but I'm fine with it. Like, you won the game, whatever. That was positive. Duncan and Struess were shooting the ball well, and I mean, we turned on in third quarter, so that was cool. It was good to see us win a game like this where we started out real slow.
Yeah. All right. Shout out to Alex who joined us, aka Tropical Blanket. Alex,
popping in.
Alex, I want to get your thoughts as well. Like, what's your big positive takeaway from this game? They're on a 4-game win streak. It doesn't really feel like it. It feels kind of like the Lakers' current win streak, where they're just eking by teams. But a win is a win. I want to know your thoughts, Alex.
I feel pretty good about tonight's win. Like, I think Bam obviously had a rough offensive game. Like, he could not develop any type of rhythm, which is weird because, like Royal's been saying, Boogie Cousins is a statue, basically. Like, he should be able to just kind of drive by him every time in theory. But he just couldn't establish any type of rhythm tonight. Then a lot of times especially in that second half, they were throwing a bunch of small guys on him. And then even before, they would send a second guy to help. Like, he just wasn't really looking to attack. I don't think he has like that type of skill set. Like, that's not the game that he looks to play with. As far as even Jimmy can do it. Jimmy can really punish a mismatch low in the post when everybody's cleared out. We saw him do it over and over again in the finals, right? And I wish Bam would just take a page out of Jimmy's book and add that stuff to his game as well. But Jimmy buckets, man, oh my God, he is in playoff form right now, which is kind of worrisome a little bit that you need to rely on him so much. But I feel good about the way he's looking. I think he looks awesome.
I want to throw some at you guys. How much do you think the dribble handoff stuff that Bam's pretty much been accustomed to since he was a rookie? They implemented this system because Hassan wasn't a good passer. So this has forced him to pass. How much do you think this system being ingrained in his brain has kind of hurt him to an extent, caused his passivity, I guess.
You're muted, Alex.
Yeah.
No, I was gonna say you're right. That's always what he's looking to do when he gets the ball. I think he has a hard time actually getting to look at the basket. It's that's never what he's looking to do when he first gets it.
Yeah, I also think it's one of those things where he's never really had to be the number one guy on any of his teams, at least as far as I know. Definitely not in college, and he hasn't had to be that guy until this year. And even now, he's not really the number one guy. It's still you can see when Jimmy's healthy and he's on the court, he's the alpha dog on the team. I don't really know if that's in Bam's personality, but we've definitely seen like a great amount of improvement on that end, right? His shot attempts are up, his points per game have gone up every year. They're up this year again. It's definitely something that he falls back on, right? Like when he gets the ball at the top of the key or whatever, like his initial instinct isn't to look to score, isn't to look to get to the rim or take the jumper, whatever it is. It's kind of something that he falls back on when other things don't work. But it's definitely something he's improving on, and it's like we can look forward to more improvement on that end from him. And I've been encouraged with his improvement, frankly.
Hopefully we can see some more improvement, man, because when you're passing out, when you have PJ Tucker on you, you have a foot in the paint, and you pass it out to Jimmy when he's on the 3-point line. Like, what's that? Like, come on, Bam. Like, damn.
Look to score, man.
Yeah. Like, at that point, that I think that gets a lot of fans, like upset. Like what the hell's going on here? Like, but
I understand the frustration too. Like that's not unwarranted. Even though he's your max dude, that's the reason why you're pretty much like you had enough of it, pretty much. And you've seen what he can do when he's like, okay, I'm just gonna do what I want. Nobody can guard me. Like if Daniel Tice can't guard you, Boogie Cousins with 0 good knees can't guard you. Like that's pretty much where we're at. I think they need to rewire his brain to a certain extent. That comes from the staff and from Bam himself. That's going to take a while. It's just frustrating that it's probably going to take a while during the season where you don't have a while. You have to, get going. You need guys to step up, especially without Tyler being out there or Goran being out there. You need a guy who's going to look to, be the guy. That's just not Jimmy. You need somebody else besides Jimmy. Jimmy needs help.
Yeah, we can't have Jimmy playing 39 minutes every night, especially this is the first game of the 7-game road trip. Like, this is not going to go well. Like, if this is what we have to rely on Jimmy to be doing, this is not going to go well.
I want to throw this at you, Gat. What have you thought about Miami's defense over the past couple of weeks?
That's something I just wanted to point out because you look at their last 4 games. I mean, over the win streak, the highest amount of points that they've allowed was 103 against the Knicks. So, I mean, for as bad as they were early on in the year, yes, we're not playing the best teams in the world, but you're keeping teams under 100, and you've done it 3 of the last 4. I mean, they're doing something. They're starting to figure some things out. It just doesn't look like it because we haven't had a full game yet where it looks like the masterpiece that we saw in the bubble. But they're baby steps. Like, this team was a dumpster fire a few weeks ago. I'm feeling better about it. Like, you got guys contributing. Kendrick Nunn, although he didn't have a great game shooting-wise, at least in the first half, I actually have been impressed with his energy and, like, his defense a little bit. Maybe rotations have not been perfect, but I like what I've seen in terms of energy. He's kind of becoming almost like a spark plug when he's on the court, and that's maybe a role that he can thrive in. So I like what I've seen from Nunn, at least from the last few games, especially on the defensive end. He's kind of he's giving effort to be well-rounded. So I want to give props to Kendrick Nunn. He's bouncing back hard right now.
Something that I've noticed they've been doing is selective trapping. Something that they did more of with the big 3 because they had the athletes to do it almost every game. But now Spo's pretty much implemented to them that you're only going to trap certain guys. You're only going to trap John Wall or Elfrid Payton because these guys don't have the best jump shots. So Kelly has been doing a really good job at that. He's hedging really hard. And
surprisingly,
guys like Max Strus, crazy. Max Strus too. He's a guy that's active on defense. That's all you want, especially when you have a trapping defense. I want to know is it sustainable? Is the defense they're playing right now something they can keep up, or is it going to get more exploited the better teams you face?
I think it's sustainable. I just think that the way that this kind of defense is you're going to have lapses in a game where it's not going to be working out, right? Because it's a very high energy, run back, run here, run back. There's a lot of switches. If we're going to be implementing all these, traps, you're going to have a lot more switches, a lot more rotating, So there's going to be parts in a game where for 5-6 minutes it's not working out. The closeouts you have to be so good at closing out and making sure that you're on point with those closeouts. And that's what happens with some of those games, like in the Knicks game, we're late on those closeouts. So is it sustainable? we'll see, but I honestly think it is. It's just gonna if you're gonna think that for a whole 4 quarters you're gonna see amazing defense. That's not what you're gonna get out of this team, out of this group of players. We have a lot of one-sided players that are more offensive than defensive. So right now I see Spo pulling out everything he can from the defense. If you can get this, like Gab said, out of the last 4 games, I mean, take it.
What's up, Anthony? I don't even know who that is, but
He says, "What's up?"
thanks for tuning in.
What about you, Ariel? Do you think is this personnel enough to keep up what you have? Because the personnel is kind of what's been holding Miami's defense back for the past for the first half of last season, pre Jay Crowder, and before that.
Yeah, I tend to lean in the same direction that my man Simba's going here. Like, I feel like, Spo's doing the best that he can with the personnel that he has, but frankly, the Heat, I tend to think that they have a personnel problem in that they have too many players that just aren't particularly good defenders. They're kind of one-way players. They can shoot three, do whatever it is on offense, but defensively they lack in certain areas. For example, their defensive awareness, like Kelly's defensive awareness, for example, if he's not drawing a charge, man, like he's late on so many rotations on the perimeter, and
It's crazy.
it's just a problem. Like, I don't know if the solution is on the roster at the moment. They might have to make a move and get better defensively on the wings and probably next to Bam as well. But I mean, given what they've got right now, Spo's doing the best that he can. He's trying to throw in some, other wrinkles to the defense. They throw out that zone a little bit more, and like I had mentioned earlier, they threw in that trap on John Wall above the 3-point line early in the second half, which led to some turnovers on the Rockets' part. And so I don't know what else you can do. Like, it's kind of a problem, and Bam's trying to compensate. He's switching out on the perimeter a lot of the time, and that's leaving, all kinds of mismatches across the floor that opposing defenses are taking advantage of, and you're seeing a lot of open threes and just bad matchups for Miami. So I don't know if the answer's on this roster, but Spo's a great coach. He's doing what he can with the personnel he has, and that's about it. That's my take on that. Thank you, Scott.
This is something that Nikias Duncan, a friend of ours, said on his podcast. He said Miami needs to get better at selecting when to switch. Bam is the type of guy who switches too much. Like, his ability to guard wings and guards is like amazing, but it's not something you want to rely on. You want him near the paint more often than not, so that those shots in there get harder. And
it's crazy because it's usually something you kind of would like to rely on, but because of the personnel around Bam, you don't want to rely on that, right? Because he's so switch happy, because he can guard, like you said, he can guard the guards, right? Mm-hmm. So he doesn't mind, but the problem is that who is he switching with? You're switching Nunn, who's probably a below average defender, onto a big, and he's going to hurt us in the end, So yeah, definitely.
It's a scramble rotations after that. Houston, weirdly enough, they were like the number 1 ranked defense not too long ago, because they select when they switch. They don't switch willy-nilly. They know who their personnel is. That's something that Miami needs to understand, is like their personnel is like what they have. They can't change that. They can't change like Tyler Hero's wingspan overnight. You have to know who's out there, when to switch, when to play drop. The drop has been pretty much gone away, which I'm a fan of. But you have to know like who's out there. Andre Iguodala is actually a guy who does this really well. He knows when to like show hard or help, or he's gonna switch a screen. He doesn't switch easily. He knows, he's been in the league long enough to where he can do that. This actually goes right into a question I was gonna get to about personnel. Even through this 4-game win streak, do you guys see a move being made sooner rather than later, or do they wait after this, this hell road trip?
I kind of think that if we know anything about Pat Riley, we can look as recently as last season. He'll make a trade on a road trip, right? I think that was when they made the move for Iguodala and Crowder and our man Solomon Hill, who's no longer with us. But yeah, I definitely think that they should be looking long and hard at the trade market at the moment. And if you can get an upgrade on the perimeter at guard, that would probably help Bam not have to switch out all the time, right? And if they can get a guy a lot in the mold of like a Jay Crowder, so maybe like a PJ Tucker, maybe a Thaddeus Young. I'm not 100% on that one, but that's a popular name on Heat Twitter that I think that would be a move that they should absolutely look into if the price is right and it's something that, you know, the organization can pallet.
What about you
Am I the
guys?
only one who's? Oh, sorry. Wait, I'll let you go ahead.
No, I was gonna say, what about you guys? What did you guys think?
Am I the only one who's like not that high on PJ Tucker?
No, I don't blame you. His feet are. He hasn't been moving really well this year. He's kind of
Yeah, he's 35. And, like it looks like he's 35. Yeah, PJ Tucker old and hurt now, and that's exactly how I feel. Like I'm not giving up much of I'm not giving up much value to get PJ Tucker right now. I honestly don't know if he's even the answer. Like, is it an upgrade of what we have at the 4? Absolutely, but is it the answer for this team? I don't think so.
Well,
I think
the reason why he's
the
the answer is
resort
because of what he brings, right? Like he can play the 4, he can spread it, and he can rebound. You know,
But is he
just
doing it at a high level right now? Is my question.
Well, is he doing it at a better level that we have right now? You know,
I know, like it's an upgrade. I'm not arguing with that. I'm just saying, like, is it a substantial enough upgrade to the point where you're actually getting that much better, getting PJ Tucker? I honestly don't know if he does it for us. Like, I prefer someone who's a little bit bigger at the 4 and maybe a little bit quicker as well.
Thad Young?
Hey,
Yeah, Ariel just brought that up.
let me ask you, knowing that John Collins is asking for, you know, the max or whatever, would you try to go for him just for this 1 year?
Nope.
No?
I would
I'd rather buy in on Oladipo to pay him than Collins. Like, I don't know. I've seen Oladipo be a max player, even though he's coming off of injuries. But Collins, I don't know. Like, I'm still not even as sure about him and his fit next to Bam. Like, I know he could shoot, but if he's just going to be placed on the 3-point line all the time, he's not going to be rolling to the rim a lot. I don't know. I feel like we might get just, you know, kind of playing it out in my head. I feel like you might get a little bit diminishing returns from John Collins, and he's really just an offensive type player. So yeah. I would be more worried about the fit and the fact that I don't know if he's a max player.
Well, like I said, knowing you weren't going to give him max, would you, you know, do you think that would move the needle enough adding him to this
team? It seems
team?
like he wants something somewhat close to it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about this on Clutch Corner last night. I think another thing to consider with regards to like the John Collins thing is the price tag, right? Like, I don't know if the price tag for the Heat would be any different from any other team, given that we're in the same division as the Hawks, but I don't think he would come cheap, in my opinion, to be honest with you. And I don't know if he's a great fit next to Bam. I think, again, like Alex had said, he can shoot and he can do some things offensively for sure, but this team has had a problem with defense just as much as offense this year, especially at the 3-point line, and I really don't know if he helps you with that.
My favorite guy now that I've kind of switched to, I mean, I still like the idea of PJ Tucker at Thad Young. And frankly, I'd be good with any one of these guys that we talked about. But my other guy now that I've kind of looked at is Harrison Barnes. I think like he's having a great season in Sacramento on the offensive end of the floor. And I think he'll be just enough on defense, like to kind of, you know, be able to guard fours. And, you know, occasionally if you want to turn into a switching defense in the playoffs, I think you can deploy him there in that Crowder role. I think he's a better offensive player than Crowder by a good amount, maybe not as strong defensively, but he's definitely got more size as far as height and length. So I think Barnes would be kind of an interesting one. I'm not sure about him, though, because I think he's got a couple of seasons left on the contract after this season. I think.
Yeah, I think the contract gets lower and lower each season that passes. He's also a guy that I really like, too. He's almost at the 50, 40, 90 club. The thing with that is you're like, is Sacramento willing to move him? Or are they more willing to move Marvin Bagley? They're kind of log-jammed at the 4, which is hilarious considering we could use any of those guys.
Yeah.
And I think also Nemanja Bjelica, he's going to get moved. You just wonder which team he's going to get moved to. I don't know if Miami could go after him. Something I've heard that's like something I'm a fan of is if you do go after and trade Kelly Olynyk and you get a 4 like maybe Thad Young or any of these guys we're talking about, that you can like swipe Nemanja Bjelica for cheap to replace Kelly Olynyk, you know, in that type of move. He's only like $7 million. He could fit right into your trade exception, so you wouldn't really need to move that much. I want to get your guys' thoughts about that. Like, would you be a fan of that?
I'm in.
Yeah, I like that.
Just talking about Barnes's contract, he has 22 this year, 20.2 next year, and 18.3 the following. So, I mean, it fits, I believe.
I don't know. That's the part that throws me off a little bit. I'm not sure how to feel about it.
You wonder if it gets if you can trade that. If it gets easier to trade as you get along, if you keep
Yeah.
playing like this, that's for sure.
And less and less.
And also,
years.
you're playing in a timeline that's with Jimmy. You know, this isn't going to be something unless Oladipo gets, becomes free available. You're pretty much playing with this timeline.
Sacramento, it is.
There we go.
Make
All
the
right, we
call.
got a second.
What do we
I
what do
mean,
you
what
have
are-
to give up to get Harrison Barnes though? Like, I don't know what his value is.
I think he's at least you have to give up. I'm guessing the contracts to fit. You're giving up
A
Andre
first and a young
or
player
Kelly,
as well.
or probably Precious.
Kelly and
at
Precious?
least. And I think at least maybe
You'd have to give up more than just Kelly and Precious. So
Yeah, you need like another
that would
5.
be enough contracts.
Yeah,
I think
another 5 or 6
also
million.
another thing.
Myers time.
Yeah. Are you willing to trade Duncan and like flip assets for him? Like for Harrison Barnes, I don't think so. I think that's for bigger fish to fry. So it's going to be all about what price. Something that you can get within your price range, which it's slim pickings when you think about that. This is why people go to PJ Tucker, because he'll probably only cost you like second rounders and expiring contract. Because
Seems like Sacramento's trying to push for the playoffs too, and he's definitely helping them. I don't think they could just get rid of him.
I feel like they're more inclined to move off Marvin Bagley, because they have that whole situation where they're in some games he's only playing like 26 minutes, and his dad is tweeting, "Hey, trade my son," and then De'Aaron Fox's dad is tweeting, "Yeah, trade this bum." So
I do think that the Duncan questions that you raised, Marco, is really interesting though, because like, I don't know, how do you guys feel about paying that guy, upwards of 16, maybe 18 or 20 million a year, given that, we kind of talked about this on Clutch Corner last night, actually, given that we know that he can so easily be schemed out of a playoff series, right? We saw that happen for basically the first 3 rounds of the playoffs last year before they got to the finals, and he kind of started going off after the first couple of games. I think also, at the same time, the question is like, what do you want to move him for? Like, do you want to move him and just kind of accumulate assets? Because Clutch had mentioned a couple times like that he'd be willing to trade him for 2 first-round picks that you can use going forward in a trade for a superstar, or do you want to move him and try to get a win now player that makes you better today and make a push this season?
I don't like it. I don't like it one bit.
It seems like a short-sighted move, doesn't it? It just depends on who, though.
Yeah, I'm intrigued by trading Duncan. It just depends on who,
I don't think you upgrade by trading Duncan on his own. That's the problem. And I'm not in the mind to just sell him off for picks. Like, I understand in a vacuum.
I wouldn't do that.
But that's the thing. It's like, if you can't upgrade, like, I think he's a win now player right now. I think if, like I've said on other times of I've been on, I think if they were to get somebody else who can kind of move him one spot down so they don't have to rely on him quite so much, I would feel a lot better about paying him. Like, I think I'm probably going to end up staying in the camp of pay him regardless, just because I think that, they can work around his offense. I just think the more I watch them, the more I think they're so over-reliant on it. Like, I think it's an awesome weapon to have, but there's times where it's just like, you got to switch it up. You got to have that variety in the offense. And that's why I think getting another creator outside of getting a 4 would help. And I just can't stop crushing after Depot, because the best part about it is he's not balling that hard in Houston, right? And so I think maybe that keeps his price low enough to trade for it, because I don't think his offensive efficiency has been great. But I look at what he does on defense and him just kind of fitting into what they have there on the offensive end, and I think he'd be more than enough to kind of push Duncan back, and maybe they don't have to rely on him quite so much.
Like, maybe Victor is tanking his value. He's like, "Hey, Pat, I'm helping you out over here, man."
He went out of the game on purpose tonight. He knew what he was doing.
Do him and PJ both seem a little bit checked out, or am I looking for that too much?
No, I agree.
The thing with PJ is, like, he tries so hard all the time that it's hard to tell. But I look at him like, man, that dude's not really in there, because you saw at the beginning of the year he was like, "Trade me. Y'all don't want me here. Trade me." And Victor was like the same thing.
Chat, that's the type of dude that would get traded to the Heat and lose 15 pounds in a week or two. He's bulky. Yeah. He's bulky as it is, but I feel like he's looking particularly big right now.
Like, are you? I want to ask this also. Moving away from the transaction talk, because I feel like that's all we do. Overall, the Bam game. Do you guys? Are you guys afraid that this is going to continue? His like being hesitant to attack guys, or is this like a game like you think he's going to keep learning from? He's going to keep building like, okay, this is what I need to do. These turnovers are garbage. I need to stop playing off of the Duncan. I need to start playing off of myself. Duncan needs to start playing off me. So what do you guys have confidence in that or not?
I mean, I think we've seen market improvement every single season since he's been in the league, and especially since he's become like the full-time starter at the position. I mean, he didn't have a great game tonight, right? But you look at the box score and he almost had a triple-double. He definitely he had those 8 turnovers. That's kind of rough, but I don't feel like he's been passive so much as he's just like trying to figure out how to really get into these games and in what way is he supposed to be aggressive when Jimmy's on the floor, right? Because when Jimmy was out, he had more of those games, or at least it felt like he had more of those games where he was going off, and he had those games against the Nets and a bunch of really good games. And since Jimmy's been back, it kind of feels like he's taking a little bit of a backseat. But if you look at his last few games, like the numbers are there, man. So like, I don't know. I don't really. I think it's all part of the growth process with him. Like I had said earlier, it's something that he's never really had to do before, and it's coming. I absolutely think it's coming with him.
I want to see him get better at scoring on smaller guys, man.
Yeah.
That's the part that really frustrates me because it's like he's always looking to pass out of it. And I don't mind when he's passing out of it because they're sending a second guy. But, like, man, he's not even good at backing people down into the paint, much less, getting the hook shot off. Like, it's obvious, like I said before, it's not his game. But when you got somebody – and, look, I know Bam isn't a 7-footer, but when you got a 6'6" dude on you, even if he is stocky, like, you got to be able to back him down in the paint and kind of make the defense send a second guy at least if you're not going to put that shot up. But he's still looking to play the face-up game versus guys who are going to be, who are better suited for that to guard the face-up game. And I think, like, that's why teams are going to keep doing it. I asked Bo about it tonight. I don't know if he loved me asking about it. It didn't seem like something you really wanted to talk about.
Yeah, you got to hold him accountable. You've got that reputation with him.
I just don't think Bam will ever have that, type A personality, which is, whatever. It's fine. You can't change somebody's
not this season for sure. He's not there.
But my thing is, I just hope that one day he has a switch at least, right? Where like, okay, I'm on a small guy. Time to turn it, time to be, selfish a little bit, like I want him to be like Kendrick Nunn sometimes, like don't pass it unless you absolutely have to, but just don't like look to set up Jimmy to take a 3. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Watching Kendrick Nunn is a roller coaster, man.
Oh, geez.
Like, we've had flashes of Bam doing this, like the Brooklyn game where he's drawing fouls on KD and ISOing KD. Like, you go from that to being scared to take Jayshawn Tate when you're 2 feet away from the rim. It's frustrating, but at the end of the, like, he's still getting better, and that's all I really care about. So there'll be moments where he's going to frustrate us, but if he's developing into a max player, I'll live with it.
That's true. That's what you want. You want him to
needs these nights for sure.
And he technically doesn't really have to be the max player until next year, right? Because that's when the extension kicks in. So we need him until then.
That's
when we start to hold him accountable.
Correct. Yeah, next year. Next year is when he has to start taking 20 shots a game. I will say though, without Goran and Tyler, like Bam actually needs to be more aggressive for sure. Because it's like it's one thing when you're running the offense to set up some great shooters, but when you're getting a lot of Gabe Vincent and Max Strus, it's a little different. And look, Strus had a great game. Like obviously the dude can shoot lights out. But, when those guys are missing, man, like when Hero and Goran are out, Bam needs to look to score a little bit more.
I'm done with Gabe Vincent, man. The dude shot. He was Damian Lillard in the G League, but he's like been so – and he's getting wide open shots. Like, it's crazy how bad he's missing. He hit the backboard against the Knicks on a wide open corner 3 that I just like, ugh.
I think he had 2 air balls back to back, right? Like where he had an air ball. We rebounded it, passed it back to him, and then he had an air ball again. That was really concerning.
Hopefully you don't get to see him as much. Hopefully Tyler comes back. So, yeah, I hear you. All right, I want to get you guys' thoughts on the next game. The Utah Jazz playing like the 90s Jazz pretty much. They've been killing it. How do you guys feel about their chances pretty much? Do you guys feel any – I'll start with you, Gad. How do you think they can like attack the Utah Jazz pretty much.
Listen, if there's one thing that I know in the NBA, there's such thing as scheduled losses, and this hypothetically should be a scheduled loss for the Jazz. So they play the Bucks tomorrow night. So after the Bucks, they play us. So in a neutral scenario, are we winning this game? Probably not. But they're going to be tired. Bam, for some reason, likes to kind of go at Rudy Gobert sometimes and gives him a little bit of problems. I think the Heat are going to win this game. I don't know how. I couldn't explain it to you. It's a scheduled loss for the Jazz. This is just how the NBA works.
Wow, I thought you were gonna say it was a scheduled loss for the Heat. I was nodding. I'm like, yeah, they're gonna fucking
They're off the
lose.
back-to-back against the Bucks. Like
That's a good point, though. It's a good point. That's gonna rough them up a little bit.
They're actually coming off a East trip, so they kind of have a little bit to do with it.
That's true. And
thank you.
The Jazz have been hitting all types of threes, and they're on fire. They've won like what was it, 15 out of the last 16 or something?
Yeah.
Was that the stat?
Best record in the league.
That's a fucking crazy stat. Like, and they're shooting a lot more threes than they used to. You know, they have Bogdanovich back. I think he's still playing for them, and that was one that I was kind of counting as a loss. But you know what? I like what you're saying. Back to back, you have the guts. Maybe they will win.
Let's see. I hope so.
I mean, they're in a rhythm now.
Do you guys think? How about Utah puts all their focus and energy on the Bucks game, so they're pretty much just going to come out against Miami like, we'll beat these guys up or whatever. And Miami plays up to their competition all the time, so I don't hate it. I don't hate that thought. What about you, Ariel? How do you think they can beat the Jazz if the back-to-back thing doesn't come in too much into play?
It's going to be tough. Like last night on Clutch Corner, I wildly predicted that the Heat would go 5-2 on the Western Conference road trip. Absolutely nobody agreed with me, but that's my take, and I'm sticking with it. That's a tough game, man. Like Donovan Mitchell is really hot right now. He's on fire, and if you look at who's guarding him, it's going to be rough. He might cook the crap out of them because, man, Kendrick Nunn's going to have a rough time with him. I know that Spo had said that Kendrick Nunn has improved defensively, and we know Spo says a lot of things like that. I don't know if he's improved enough defensively to hang with Donovan Mitchell or really slow him down. So that's a tough one. I'm not really – that was one of the games that I had them losing in that 7-game road trip, and so if they're going to win, it's going to be a lot of the recipe from tonight, right? It's going to be Jimmy just absolutely doing everything. Bam's going to have to go at Rudy like he did last season when they played, right? He dunked on him really, really hard a couple of times, and that was fun. Hopefully we get more of that, and if they're going to win, like I said, it's got to be Jimmy. But otherwise, it's kind of a tough matchup in my eyes for the Heat.
Yeah, I'm looking at it. I know that they're coming off of – I don't know. It's going to be really tough, man, because this team is scoring – they're scoring in the 118 mark, per game right now. These last couple games, so it's going to be really, really tough. And what are we at? 104, like you said, Gab. 104, around the 104 mark for these last 4 games. I mean, it's going to be a big defensive game. Like we're going to have to see something pretty special from somebody's going to have to step up defensively. I don't know, and I just don't know if Nunn is going to be able to do that.
I
wonder if Miami's going to implement some of this trapping stuff on Mike Conley and Donovan Mitchell, considering they're like their main creator guys, and they've been like trapping a lot recently. So
is Conley healthy?
Actually, yeah. Mike Conley's out tomorrow. He has a hamstring injury, so
that's our chance.
He might be out.
So they only have one guy who can pretty well. They'll probably bring Joe Ingles off the bench and have him start. But I don't think you need to trap Joe. I think you just need to play solid D. I think Jimmy could play him straight up. I think you just have to maintain their creators. But the thing is, Miami's been really bad at defending the 3, which is what Utah lives off of. So I think Spo's going to put it into their brain, like, don't give up the 3s. I think they'll be close. I still think they're going to lose. I don't have the guts like Gad does. What I will say is Miami, the Big 3 era, whenever they were killing teams, they always had a little hiccup against teams because they looked past them pretty much. Like they would win against like national TV Boston or something, and then the next game they lose to like a Utah team pretty much.
I feel like they've been doing that ever since too, on a smaller level, but like still, like even this team now, I feel like has done that this season, and at points last season too. Like there was some bad losses last year before the suspension.
Yeah.
Oh, I remember all that. That was the game. The
Charlotte?
game before the season got ended.
I remember the last watch party we had. We were like up, like 15 or 16
don't.
against the Hawks.
Oh
then-
man, right after the All-Star break.
Yep, we were up like 15, 16 after the Hawks, and everybody in
Hawks.
everybody in Sports Girl was losing their damn minds, man. Oh,
Man, I forgot we did watch parties. It's been so damn long. Like I don't even remember like what it was like before COVID at this point.
Like what's up regular?
And that was like 2 minutes before COVID too. So
How was the sense around that day? Like,
Can I?
did everybody get like? Everybody was like, "Oh shit might go down."
Max Drew said now in his media availability that he thinks what separates him from other quote unquote shooters is his athleticism, and he says he really likes to dunk and he just considers himself an athlete. So
He tried
I
to
didn't
kill
know that about
for
him.
no reason.
he's
Like
not totally
he's
wrong.
Will Barton. He tried to kill Will Barton.
I
What?
remember that.
Like just like he tried to yam on Will Barton
Oh yeah, that's right.
The dude has no
exciting.
fear when he goes to the rim.
for no reason.
he's
Yeah, we used to do that.
definitely a lot more athletic than Duncan.
He's what we would call sneaky athletic.
Hey, if
Yeah.
guys are gonna play him off the three, go ahead, just do it. If they're gonna do that, go ahead and do that. When he blew past Wall and dunked it, I lost my shit. I'm like, oh, like I just could not believe it. Like it was just, the Heat do a lot of the same things over and over again, and that was like one of the precious moments of surprise.
That's like when Kendrick Nunn gets one of those dunks. They're like, oh, the whole team gets up for that, and it helps the energy at least.
For sure.
So I wanted the next six games actually, because they had just their first one. What is the what is the record you guys expect? But what is the record you guys want in the next 6 games?
I want 6-1. I expect 5-2. That was my prediction last night, and I'm sticking with it.
Wow, that's way too much for me. How about you, Gad?
I mean, I'm looking at the schedule. We got Jazz, Clips, Warriors, Kings
Lakers.
on the second night of a back-to-back, Lakers, Thunder. So, like, what I want would probably be 6-1, like lose to the Lakers, try to beat everybody else. Depending on injuries, I feel like we'll beat everybody and then lose to the Kings because that's the type of shit that the Heat do. But I want to say we'll go 4-3 total. So 3-3 from here on out.
I like that. What about you,
4-2.
4-2.
It's happening. Book it.
Yeah, I'm actually hoping for 4-2, but I think 4-3 is something that I think is more plausible. But I'd actually take it because this is a tough road trip, so I'd actually take a 4-3 right now. And we don't think Goran's coming back on this road trip, right?
Mm-mm.
I don't know. I haven't heard much.
Is Hero going to be like? Is he out for a week now?
I don't know. I think he's still. I think it's a like caution.
He's in
Cautions, whatever.
Protocol.
So
I think
They
minimum
haven't
is
said
like
what it was for.
yeah. I think it's like is it 4 days or is it 7 day minimum, depending on how many negative test results you return.
I
think
feel like
it's
Alex
7
should know
because
that, but
KD has been out for like a week since that Brooklyn game.
oh man.
Don't put that on Trilly.
Can I say one thing? Kelly Olynyk had like 12 rebounds tonight. I am so proud of that guy. Like, oh my god,
Wow.
this kid.
Congrats
Yo,
on
he's not
learning
that good at
yourself.
rebounding. I don't know why.
Was that his career high?
I think so.
There's got to be his career high. There's
I
like
mean,
this dude. Ugh.
I think
Kelly
he had
Olynyk
Oh
like,
man, I
is-
messed up. He actually had 13 rebounds.
that's,
All right.
yeah, he had like 13 a couple games ago, I believe, and I think that was probably his career high.
Okay, but this guy does not do that, And to be honest, he didn't have any points in the first half, so he was at least rebounding. So that actually helped out a lot.
This is the one team that you should be able to rebound against, especially without Christian Wood. I'm just glad he did it. He found out he was 7 feet tall for once. Thank
Yeah,
God.
I think with Kelly, it just comes down to how many 6'2" guards feel like going in and grabbing rebounds. Because if they're in a mood that night, he's not getting that many rebounds.
There was one rebound at the end. I think Jimmy was like really mad at him. He grabbed it. He was like nonchalantly holding it. It just gets poked out like it's nothing.
Oh,
And they
John
give up
Wall got a
three.
three.
Yeah. Like, Jimmy looked so pissed at him. Like, dude, keep the ball. And Miami does that a lot. They actually give up a lot of those loose balls.
Yeah.
They've had a lot of bad loose ball luck pretty much all year. It's been ugly.
Actually, I got a question. So if we want to go like 4-2 or something like that, what's the average minutes that Jimmy has to play in order for him to stay healthy, but in order for us to have that record? Because today he played 39 minutes. He cannot be playing 39 minutes every night.
Tibbs, baby, got to take a page out of that Tibbs playbook.
Shit, yeah.
This is normal for Jimmy. This is what he does.
54 minutes a game.
You just can't go down early.
That my whole thing is that I don't want him to get hurt. Trying
Yeah,
to.
Yeah,
that would hurt so bad. Watching that.
That's the bad thing about this current win streak is how bad they look without Jimmy on the floor. Tonight, they actually looked pretty okay, which helped. I don't know how much of that was Houston not hitting anything. Like it was Game 6 of the Western Conference Finals, but you want to look better without Jimmy out there. I'm sure that's a lot about Hero not being there and Goran not being there. But again, that's where you need to stagger the Bam minutes. Like have him out there when Jimmy's not out there. You want to have a guy out there that could control that. What do you guys think about how the way they look without Jimmy like out there? I want to start with you, Alex. Like, do you think it's just a matter of missing Tyler and Goran, or is it something else?
It's definitely a little bit of both because, like I said before, I think like Bam needs to adjust to those guys not being there and play more, inside out than outside in. And I feel like that about the team in general on offense. I think like they've gotten over reliant on the three. And look, I'm with you. They need to be staggering Bam and Jimmy now, especially with these guys out. I think they should probably just be doing it anyways. But like it's tough. It's tough because I really don't like when Kendrick Nunn handles the ball. He had a solid game. Like I think there was at the beginning of the second quarter, he had a stretch where he was just making mistake after mistake after mistake, and it was driving me nuts. But playing him ended up being good because he finally found his rhythm and turned into a productive player after that terrible stretch. But regardless, like it's just like you're relying on Bam to set up Kendrick Nunn and Strus, off of some screens, and it gets a little ugly without a little bit more ball handling. Bam still needs ball handling next to him.
I agree with that. What about you, Simba? Do you think they just need to wait for Tyler Goran to come back, or do they need to have more adjustments with Jimmy out without Jimmy out there on the floor sometimes?
Yeah, they definitely have to do more adjustment. I feel like when they have Jimmy on, he's like he has to organize the whole team, right? Like that's like his main role every time he's out there. Because if not, we just look like an offensive mess out there, and it's crazy. So I feel like whatever it is, he has to be on the floor because he can't be doing it from the bench, So we just I don't know. I feel like every time we talk about it, like we kind of hope that we can make some, changes and stuff. But I think it's always going to come down to we just need we're missing players, man. And so it's going to be like this, man.
They had that problem, these problems too in the Knick game. Like if Jimmy wasn't out there, it still looked like a mess, even with Tyler out there. Because you can't rely on Jimmy too much like this, especially when we're not in the playoffs. He's been finals Jimmy, putting up like 20, 10, 8 nightly. Like you can't be relying on this night to night, especially with this road trip coming up. If he gets hurt, the teams might look just as bad as they did beforehand. So you just hope you don't run him into the ground like that. I'm afraid for Jimmy's ankles. Is all I'm saying. Like keep those ankles taped, like taped.
He was a plus 25 in that New York game, and they won by 2, I believe. Yep. And then he was a plus 11 in the first New York game right before that, and they won by like 6, I think. They were pretty bad whenever he was off the court, and we saw it again tonight, more specifically in the first half, right? Like they just couldn't do anything. They were ice cold when he went out of the game. Spo left him out there the entire first quarter because absolutely nobody had it going, and he was hoping that, Jimmy would have it going and carry them a little bit. But when he went out, the deficit kind of grew, and then he came back in and settled things down. And I don't know, man. It's tough. It's tough when you don't have, your two really important offensive creators like Goran and Tyler, who you would stagger with those bench guys. And, of course, Tyler's coming off the bench. And so, I don't know. Bam's got to look to be more aggressive in the non-Jimmy minutes and hope for the best until those guys get back.
That's something that I've come around to is the team needing another guard, like like Alonzo Ball, who I've been a big fan of, like a guy who can just organize the team when Jimmy's not out there or when Goran's predictably hurt. You know, these guys are older dudes past their like age 30 year. You can't like rely on them to be there night to night basis. You need another guy, which is how I've come around on that like thought of getting a point guard. I want to know what you think, Gad. Like, do you think that getting another guy to organize the team, like, it doesn't have to be a big name, just a guy to like organize whatever they're doing out there when Jimmy's not out there?
Yeah, I mean, that's really what we need. You need a guy that can get more out of the bench. I know Goran's not playing, but I think Goran is the guy that you don't want to rely on night after night. I'm fine with relying on Jimmy, honestly. Like, he's a max guy. I'm going to expect him, at least for stretches in the season, to play like a superstar. So I'm totally fine with that. Like, weather the storm, because we've been through some shit as a team, like the whole organization. Just as long as Jimmy can get you through that, that's fine. But one thing that I do like is someone that can just play make off the bench, get guys like Precious involved. Like, you see, without Goran, Precious is almost worthless right now because Goran gets you like 8 to 10 points rim running with Precious. Like, that's what like the lobs. It's those little things really make an impact on the game. Like, we only had, 27 points off the bench tonight. 21 was Strus. That's not going to happen again. We need somebody to get bench production, whether it's Iggy, Gabe Vincent, if Gabe Vincent wants to produce ever. But, Gabe Vincent, like, you're going to need guys to make plays down the stretch of these games because Jimmy can only do so much. You're going to need the entire team to play. It's a team game for a reason. So, if you can get a point guard that can maximize those bench guys and, like, kind of make them a little bit more consistent, that would be perfect. So, like you said, it doesn't have to be a big name, but anybody. Just get me someone else that can play make off the bench.
Yeah, I like that point you made about Precious. Like, him without Goran, or a guy that can at least get downhill, he becomes pretty much unplayable. Rookies as is have a hard time enough like adjusting to the league. Without like a solid veteran guy out there, it's going to be even worse, especially when a guy like Precious relies so much on a dude like Goran to get downhill, get him easy buckets. You know, we saw how good he looks when Goran is out there, just a guy that gets downhill. Like, you need that, especially for a rookie rookies, when they enter the league, are bad more often than not. If you're not LaMelo Ball or Tyrese Halliburton, it's rare that you're a rookie. Most rookies end up being 10% solid role players on their first year. It's not a very like high ceiling, but it's still something that Precious was hitting. He was being a solid role player. And the margins get a lot smaller when you don't have your veterans out there. And, you know, you just hope that you get these guys back in the middle of this road trip because you're going to need as many bodies as you can get.
Mm-hmm. If we can get Hero back, that'd be perfect. I don't know the rules, but if you can get him, like, in 4 days or whatever, that'd be great.
Yeah. All right. That's all I wanted to get out. Any other, like, thoughts you guys maybe had? Some wandering stuff? Like,
all aboard the Strus caboose. That's all I've got.
I like that.
For real. Like, I'm excited. Like, anytime Strus checks into the game now, like, I'm excited. This dude is literally unconscious. Like, it's actually fun to watch. So whether it's consistent or not, fuck it. Like, another undrafted guy that could turn into an asset, I'm with it.
Yeah, I like that too. Just keep bombing away. Shout out to HM for the $5 donation. Says Macy Mata, I've given his numbers because it's underachieving. He routinely does first to lesser players, even with the mismatch. Yeah, I get why that, we talked about that. That's frustrating. You want him to go at these guys that aren't max players, but, it's just going to take some time to rewire how he's worked. It's going to take some patience, and, it's hard for us Heat fans. We're not patient. We don't like that. I know who's not patient is our sponsors. Shout out to Biscayne Bay Brewery. Best ever, spelled BESTEVR. Prize Picks, use the code 5. Get your first $30, matched. Miami Grill, shout out Miami Grill. And, that's our sponsors. Thanks for joining us. Make sure to check out the pod. I don't know who's going to be on there tonight. Probably Ethan and Greg. Somebody else is here. Hey, there's Alex. I don't know. He's definitely not going to be on the post-game pod. Are you?
What?
Are you going to be on the post-game pod?
Oh, we didn't pod today.
Oh, no pod today. Never mind. Check out our old episodes. We did one.
We will be
Vincent
potting twice
Goodwill.
this weekend, most likely. By the way.
All right, that's it. You get a 2-for-1. Whatever. Alex, you want to say anything to people before we leave?
Yeah, sure. Why not? Jimmy Butler is fucking awesome. He had a great game, and he just put up a great performance in the media availability too. He was, I just tweeted out now, but he was asking about. I mean, somebody asked about like the shooters he plays with and how he feels about it, and they were naming them one after another. He's like, you just basically named all the white guys, and he was, talking about his confidence and in them and all that, and then he, finishes the availability off with. Oh, yeah, somebody carry me to the bus, please. That man is tired. He's tired.
All right, what about you, Seba? Any last thoughts before we head out?
Support us by supporting our sponsors.
All right. I just read them off. Shout out to Whirl in chat. He's been creeping all day. Seltzer, yes, shouts out to them as well. Manscaped, shave your balls, all that. All right, thanks for joining us, guys. You have a great night. Peace.